Dr. Stephanie Hunter Jones, PhD, is a nationally recognized clinical sexologist, a relationship therapist, and intimacy advisor based in California. She holds a PhD in human sexuality and an MA in clinical psychology, and is also a certified sex coach and anger management specialist. Somebody's been busy. You've done a lot. Known as the Mono of Healing, which I love, Stephanie blends rigorous training with intuitive, client-centered energy work, creating a safe, shame-free space for healing emotional and sexual challenges. Over 15 years, she has supported individuals and couples through trauma, alternative sexualities, and relational blocks, using postmodern therapies and solution-focused practices. Her expertise and compassionate approach have made her a recurring sexpert on different media platforms, and today she has amazingly been kind enough to join us. So thank you so much for joining us today. I've got a lot to ask you, so forgive me if I pour through these questions.
No, that's fine. Thank you for having me, Andrew, and thank you for your listeners.
So you grew up in the southern US, where
Yes,
I
I grew up
think,
in small town in
guilt,
Texas. Yeah.
yeah. So I think some association with guilt, shame, repression, and other norms perhaps around human sexuality, especially when it came to maybe women experiencing or exploring their desires. So what were your formative years like? Were you very comfortable with your body and your sexuality?
No, I was not. Unfortunately, when I was very young, I was raised in a extremely religious environment that was very anti-sex and shamed sex and related sex to demons. And so even before I knew what sex was, I thought of it as a demon and was evil. So therefore, I developed a very unhealthy relationship with sex and my body. And I would use it to either try to find love or approval. And it took me until my adult years to break free of that shame. And I realized not only does it affect your sexuality, but the trauma that one can experience through sex, it affects your entire life.
Mm.
So that's one of the reasons why I worked for many years towards healing, personal healing. And that's one of the reasons why I got into this work, to do my best to help others that I can.
That was going to be my next question. Yeah. So from a place where sex was literally demonized to a place where you are such an expert and have a PhD in the topic, but did it just feel like a calling, like the right place to be going to?
That's right, it's a calling. And it to help others realize that too, that someone else's opinion of your
Mm.
sexuality or sex in general doesn't make it truth. We all have our own truth. And so that's what I hope to show people, and especially females, because females do tend to struggle with that. Yeah.
Mm. I think one of the challenges I think is that we've maybe been taught that loving ourselves and our pleasure, particularly as women, isn't a priority. So, and is that something you've found, and that women in particular don't allow themselves to love themselves, and how important is that?
Right. Well, let's remember that when we come onto the planet, we are born, all of us are born sexual beings. We cry when we want to cry. When we're hungry, when we want this, we make ourselves known.
Mm.
But especially females, as they grow up, they're molded and told certain things regarding their bodies and sexuality. And I feel it's a form of control, to control the females. I mean, even if you look at the Disney movies, you've got movies like Little Mermaid that gave up her entire identity as a mermaid for a man. So we're teaching them that it's all about finding love, and that sex equals love, monogamy equals love. If your partner is attracted to someone else, that means he doesn't love you or she doesn't love you. We teach them these things, and yes, so then they grow up and they think of sex as a performance, like they're performing or they're enticing. They want to win someone over through their sexuality instead of looking at their own pleasures and what brings them pleasures and what they want. Yeah, for sure.
So I think a lot of females and sort of some of the studies that I've read don't have a relationship with their vulva. They don't have a pleasure practice. Like I say, all the pleasure that they understand is the pleasure connected with another person, typically a man,
Mm-hmm.
and we almost don't. I've never spent the time to explore what their true desire and pleasure looks
Mm-hmm.
like. Does that
Mm-hmm.
make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Because there are some even religions that say that the masturbation is a sin.
Yeah.
So, and even touching oneself.
Hmm.
So that carries a lot of guilt and shame that blocks them as well. And it's hard to break free from those voices that haunt us, those dark, shadowy ghosts that haunt us and keep us from the light. But it does take work, and one can do that and realize that the closest thing to heaven that we can get on earth is our sexuality.
How hard was it for you personally to work through what sounds like a pretty repressive childhood and environment to get to a place where you felt comfortable in your sexuality?
The ghosts haunted me throughout my life. I don't hear them as often now in my more mature years, but while I was working through it, I would feel moments of power and
Hmm.
pleasure, and then I would feel moments of the haunting come in, and which suppressed me more or brought shame upon me, pray for forgiveness, things of all that nature. So I did work for a period of time fighting that until it got less and less and less for me. It's something that, believe me, it took a lot of courage, it took a lot of meditation, it took a lot of my creativity helped me a lot to break free from that.
And what does intimacy mean to you now? What is it? What does intimacy look like or feel like?
Well, the way I see it is especially females are taught that intimacy and sex are the same thing. And so I see intimacy as completely different than sex. I feel that sex is a physical act to bring pleasure. Intimacy is something that it's a very vulnerable thing that we put our walls down and we sort of expose our truth to someone. We're being very vulnerable with that person. You do not, you can marry the two at times, but you don't want to do that all the time. It's like having Thanksgiving dinner every day. It's exhausting. So, one thing I try to make people understand is you don't have to make mad, passionate love all the time. Even with my couples, I'm like, it's okay to have naughty, nasty sex. It's okay to have a quickie. But then it's okay to have that passion. But a lot of the females are taught they must be linked, you see. And so that blocks their sexuality, that blocks their sex desires to have sex. Because they don't feel the connection emotionally and blah blah blah.
It's a hard one, isn't it? 'Cause I think one of the big things that we've done as society, maybe this is through religion or for because sex is for procreation, etc., that we've sort of we've chosen the word sex, and that's the word that we use. And but sex really is typically penis and vagina. That's what sort of sex is to heteronormative couples. And I think if we could mentally replace the word sex with pleasure, I think we'd be in a different place. So I think as you know, as I get older, I can't always get hard. I can't be as hard for as long. So then if I try and have sex with my wife
Mm-hmm.
and I fail, then I think, oh, I failed. But I think, like you said, intimacy or pleasure can be looking at somebody. It can be
Mm-hmm.
holding hands. It can be stroking somebody's cheek, giving them a massage or whatever. And I think we somehow think that if we don't have sex and as a man ejaculate, then we've
Mm-hmm.
not had sex. We've not been. But sometimes the sort of pleasure you can have from other activities is almost more intense. Really,
Mm-hmm.
is that? Do you understand that?
I completely understand that, and
Okay.
that's what I teach my clients. Penetration and orgasm is only one small part of our sexuality. Our sexuality is enormously huge, and that's why I, for some reason, as a human race, we have turned sex into a goal. It's very goal oriented, and that's what we teach our kids, unfortunately. And so it puts a lot of pressure on them. And so through my work, I try to show people that our sexuality is sex is only a tiny little part of that. Your sexuality you can use in any form that you express passion or that makes you feel alive, whether it's gardening, dancing, cooking, painting.
Mm.
If you're using that sexual energy, you're going to be really good at it. And so there's so many other ways then to feel that pleasure than just, like you said, penetration and orgasm. And there's so many ways you can explore that with your partner, and that's why I developed the role play and the cosplay books, that I wrote, and I try to invite that sort of play in for my couples, and it does bring them closer together, and it does help them understand that, okay, it doesn't have to be so serious. It can be more playful and fun, and let's just take penetration off the table right now and let's have some fun. Yeah, so I totally
Mm.
get what you're saying.
Good. I'm not alone in that space because, like, say, if for some reason you sort of can't keep an erection or whatever, you don't ejaculate, maybe this week and then next week, you get in your head about it. You think, oh my gosh, then you either avoid starting it altogether or you feel more and more and
Mm-hmm.
more stressed. But no, and
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting. I was just about to ask about
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
role play piece, and you've written a lot on role playing cosplay as tools for healing and enhancing
Mm-hmm.
sexuality and finding
Mm-hmm.
love. And your book
Mm-hmm.
Beyond the Costume. So
Mm-hmm.
I just wondered if someone perhaps maybe is a little nervous to try role play or cosplay, what might be a almost a gentle entry point to having fun with it.
First, I would always have the individual kind of explore what they're connected with. Like, is there a particular time in history? Is there a particular
Mhm.
film? Is there a particular character in a novel? What have you really thoroughly connected that makes you feel like that passion that we were talking about? Not necessarily sexual, but something that you thoroughly enjoy.
Mm.
And then when you find that, then play around with that character, without a partner. I had a female client that was very connected to the Renaissance area, and she had a lot of shame regarding masturbation. So I encouraged her to buy a dress from that era, dress in that era, walk around her apartment alone, with herself until finally she was able to masturbate in that costume. It sort of gave her permission. So, what I find that role play and cosplay does is it's a beautiful combination of embodying one's sexuality and escaping those ghosts that are haunting us.
I love the idea of it in terms of it allowing you to be for a moment, for an hour, for a day, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
yes, somebody completely different,
Hmm.
and then with your partner, somebody. I do love the idea of it.
Well, and I'll say this with my couples that I assign that to, even though they giggle and this and that,
Yes.
they often say that they're quite shocked how behind the mask, so to speak, they're able to share sexual thoughts and fantasies as that character that they can't as in their normal self. It creates sort of a safe place for that. And so then, of course, after they have some experiences in that, we talk about that and why that is and where that comes from. So they don't have to completely rely on that, but it's okay if they do. There's no judgment. But
Mm.
we talk about the costume and why is it safer for us behind the costume and what that's about. And it brings them a lot of healing. Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? So I guess, yeah, because throughout history, if you think about it, we've had masquerade balls and we've had masks and we've had both literal and virtual. And I think sometimes it is. That's why all superheroes wear masks, I guess, because you're just not who you are in normal day to day life. And I think it does allow you to talk and behave differently. But so if a partner, if one person in a relationship is thinking about, oh, I'd quite like to try that role, I think how do they broach a topic with their partners? I think one of the challenges that many of us have is bizarrely is communicating
That's
with
right.
the person we're probably closest to. So,
That's
you know, I find it far easier to talk to you now
right. Hmm.
than I might do to my partner.
Sure.
Well, how on earth did I raise this? And you don't want to just throw it out there. Oh,
Right.
I've got this fantasy about dressing up as the butler from Howard's End, and you what is it? How do you almost create a space where it's not going to be mocked or challenged or ridiculed? How do I have that conversation?
Well, that would depend on one's space, if they have a safe space with their partner or not.
Yeah.
But I always recommend seeing a sex coach or sex therapist with their partner and gently bringing something like that up. And if the person is like me, they're very good at handling that in a very safe way. Also, you could say, "Oh, I just ran across this podcast that's so interesting about cosplay. Listen to it and tell me your thoughts about it because I thought it was kind of interesting. You know, a little baby step, a little toe in the water
Mm.
type of thing."
Mm.
But I always think that a sex coach or something along that nature is so beneficial for couples and even just opening up their communication about sex. We don't communicate enough about it.
No,
Yeah.
no, I think we might start
Well,
off
and
a
also I
relationship.
explain to my couples that you can just because you share a sexual fantasy with your partner doesn't mean that you're expecting to do it. It's okay to say, "Oh, I just fantasize that we're having sex on the beach and everyone's watching." Doesn't mean you're going to actually do that, but you can still talk about it and what it would be like in the experience. But we have a lot of those ghosts that say, "No, no, they're gonna judge you if you say that. They're gonna think you're some kind of weirdo or pervert. Don't tell them that." You know. So we got to remember that a sexual fantasy is just a fantasy. That's why it's called a fantasy.
I don't think many of us realise that. I think they think if I say this out loud, therefore it's something I yeah, the
Well,
fantasy is something I
and
want
you have to
to do.
remember that we take our partner's fantasies personal, which
Yes.
someone's sexual fantasies is all about them. It has nothing to do with us. But let's say our partner says, "Oh, I have this fantasy of a threesome with you." What? I'm not enough for you? You know, it's
Yes.
just we take their fantasy personal instead of
Mm.
like, no, their sexuality is about them. It's not about us. And our sexuality is about us. It's not about them. Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? 'Cause I might fantasize about scoring the winning touchdown in the Super Bowl. It's probably not going to happen, and I'm not going to do anything about it. But it just the fantasy itself makes me feel good, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what it is, really, isn't it? It's that how fertile and imaginative you can be, really, and even like you were saying about the sex on the beach, lots of people watching. You can bring that into the bedroom and just whisper to your partner.
Of course.
People around us are getting closer to us. They're really seeing what we're doing. Oh my God,
Right.
imagine it like you say, it's just how it manifests itself. It isn't the same because there's a big trend at the moment for I'm not sure what they're called, sort of romantasy, like romance fantasy novels where
Hmm.
somebody's kidnapped by a dragon and taken back to their lair. Nobody really wants to be kidnapped by a dragon and taken back to their lair, but it's how do you bring that into what's real, really?
Hmm.
So one of the things I saw when I went onto your fabulous website is you cover a lot of areas.
Hmm.
You specialize in a lot of things. So is it possible to say what clients come to you for and what they hope to achieve?
Hmm. Um, Various reasons.
Mhm.
Um, Well, it does seem like I specialize in a lot. There are things I don't. I do specialize in helping couples rebuild intimacy or build intimacy. I help
Mm.
individuals that have, for whatever reason, disconnected from their sexuality. I at least half of my clients are in some form of open relationship. So I am very successful at guiding couples that want to begin that journey and exploring that with them. And so I just, and I also, a lot of my clientele comes to me that have certain fetishes or kinks and have a lot of shame around it. And I sort of embody that and help them through that process. So, yeah, that's my work that I do. I'm very open and I create a very safe space for anyone, yeah, who needs to talk to someone.
One of the things that I noticed on your website is, firstly, you have some very beautiful and touching and emotional reviews, or if that's what you call them, or comments from
Hmm.
clients that want to sort of share what they talk about.
Hmm.
And one of the things I noticed, it was seemed quite prevalent, is a lot of them have had other experience with different people. And I'm not asking you to sort of compare yourself to others, but what do you think it is about the way you seem to connect with clients that makes it a more empowering and illuminating experience?
Um, First, not everyone connects with me, but those that do, I think, I use my I use my spirituality in my work. I use my energy that I know will pass on when my body dies. That energy is present in my work, and I'm very intuitive, and I can feel what the client feels. I'm really good at that, and I have a good intuitive feeling of what direction to take them towards. All
Mhm.
I need to know is the client's goal, and then I work through that way. But yes, there are people that think I'm a little woo-wooey. But then if those that come to me are open, they're willing to get out of their comfort zone, they're willing to try new things, they do very well in like with me.
Mm. Do you often find that people come to you perhaps so without necessarily, oh, this is what we want to get, and come to you with, this is the problem, but then when you get to know them and you connect with them, that isn't a problem at all. That it is that they fixated on something, but actually it's something quite different.
Yes,
I didn't ask that in a
that's
very good way.
very common.
Okay.
They think that, you know, there's a problem. Let's say they're coming to me because they're suffering from erectile dysfunction.
Hmm.
And this is just an example. You know, I always make sure they go to a medical doctor first and have everything tested. So let's say they've gone to the doctor and the doctor says there's nothing physically there. So I explore with them what could be going on emotionally. And sometimes it can lead to the fact that their penis is actually telling them something. There have been times that I have found that the man was in a toxic relationship. So it wasn't about his inability of getting an erection. It was about his penis was trying to, his body was trying to say, dude, this isn't healthy for you. So, yes, our bodies and our sexuality can speak to us unlike anything else on the planet if we are only willing to listen.
Do we have to learn to listen? Because it's not something we're taught.
Right.
We're not taught how to listen to our sexual feelings or sexual emotions or
Mm-hmm.
intimate thoughts. So how do we learn to recognize the signs or truly listen?
We have to teach ourselves, basically. We have to learn as much as we can. We have to, I'm a big believer in meditating and seeing our sexual energy, communicating with it, choosing a flower that reflects it and have it around you all the time. Talk to it, get to know what it is. That's why, with my first book, that's for middle graders to young adults, I it's called it's about labels, and I really enforce the the idea of communicating, because we don't allow our kids to communicate about their feelings around sex. Okay, they might be lucky enough to get, this is the vagina, this is the penis, this is what happens. But what if they're having these feelings they don't understand, which is very common? And so now the younger generations are being forced to label themselves, I feel, very quickly. And I understand part of that because they feel like they've been held back sexually, which we have. But it takes away their freedom to explore and to get to know themselves. And so in the book, while I totally respect labels and the characters that are in there that identify with the label, it's all very positive, and I explain why that's necessary. The main character is confused about labels and his sexual identity, and he feels a lot of pressure. And so I take him on his journey, and he gets to know that it's okay if I like boys today and I might like girls in a few years. It's okay because it's common for everyone to have the first sexual experience with the same gender. And I feel like in today's world, then that puts this pressure on them to label themselves. So I want to invite the younger generation to say it's okay. It's okay just to be who you are and fluid. And it's okay to label yourself at 15. It's okay to label yourself at 50. It's okay to never label yourself. And just go with what you feel. Because once we do slap a label on it, it does put us in a certain category.
I haven't heard that before, but I like the. So if you think about it rationally for a second, you think, well, it's irrational to decide at a early teens or whatever the typical time is. This thing that gives me pleasure now
Mm-hmm.
is the only place I'm going to be going to for pleasure for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
It
Right.
is. It's almost like saying, "Look, I love potatoes.
Uh-huh.
Why would I want to try rice?"
Right.
It sounds silly, but I do think actually a lot of sex analogies and food analogies are quite similar.
Yeah.
I
Right.
think taste and sensation of feeling and eating an
Yes.
incredibly ripe peach. I mean, how sexual is that? I mean, for goodness sake,
Yes, for sure.
it's. But yeah, and I think it is odd, isn't it? If you now that this is it, that's my label, and I think
Well,
sometimes people perhaps feel secure in labeling themselves and associating them with a particular group, but then can feel very trapped or
mm-hmm.
limited, or if ever they want to try and explore beyond that group's boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that must be quite hard. So if people come to you and they maybe think they have a particular kink in mind, and some people often think that they're the only person with a kink. And I've never heard of any kink that not more than one person has out of 8 billion on the planet. How do you help them say, well, that's okay. It's okay to explore that particular kink. It's okay as long as you do it in sort of safety and in consent,
Hmm.
etc. How do you help people that want to explore maybe what society would define as alternative lifestyles or alternative approaches to sex?
I'll answer that. Let me just say one thing about the kids labeling themselves.
Mhm.
I see that as another form of control that
Yeah.
society puts on our sexuality.
Hmm.
Before this, everybody was just simply shamed for their sexuality. Don't do it before marriage. Don't do this. It's naughty. It's bad. It's this. Now, another way that they're putting control on them is by putting that pressure for labeling. Now, kink. That's a very interesting subject because first let's talk about the difference in a kink and a fetish. A
Hmm.
kink is something that just simply turns you on, but you don't necessarily need it to achieve arousal or orgasm. A fetish is something that must be present in order to achieve arousal or orgasm. So, fetishes start in the early childhood. And in the cosplay book, I take Mason, the main character. He starts as a young boy with cosplay, but he didn't understand what it was. He used cosplay to escape the abuse of his abusive father. And then he grew up, and cosplay became his fetish. And he had to deal with that. So I believe I believe in honesty because first of all, I believe in integrity and honesty with oneself. And as I do with Mason, the main character, if he celebrates who he is, if he loves who he is, he will attract that in his life, which ultimately he does because it's a love story. But we have a lot of shame around anything that's unique or different. And so, what we have to understand is actually those things is what makes you unique and special. You're not just like everybody else. You know, it's again, it's the little bit of a fun that you've opened the door to. And if you are special in that way, you only want a partner that will embrace that and celebrate that with you. Otherwise, if you don't have that, if that person doesn't, in my opinion, then they're not appreciating and loving who you are and who your sexuality is.
I think just quickly back to your reflections on labeling and control, and I 100% agree, and I think there's increasingly in political, societal, economic situations that there's very much a desire from governments, powers that be, to put us in a particular box. That's your box, Stephanie. It's your
Yes.
box, Andrew. Right, you are a
Right.
heteronormative
Right.
white cis man. Right,
Right.
you are a kink obsessed. Blah blah blah.
Right.
And that's the box they can put you in, because then they can package up with lots of other people that fit in a similar box and treat you all in the same way and not
Right.
think about you as individuals, which is, it feels very dangerous.
Oh,
It
yes.
feels very, very controlling. I really think, and it's funny, I feel very, very comfortable talking to you about this. I really think that we will have a very positive backlash against this overarching desire to control, and that we will have a large group of people, large number of people that decide to live more authentically and more positively, and not be driven by what society has deemed to be what we should desire. So, sorry, I'm getting very deep
No,
now. I just feel really comfortable talking to you about this
yeah.
stuff. Sorry,
I mean, I hope,
you're
I
very,
hope in my heart you're right. But
yeah.
one
I
thing I
just feel it has to be.
notice, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just feel it has, because we've gone so far one way and we went so far the other way, and it feels now that we're thinking, well, actually, we've had this issue that has challenged us, where once we understood the concept of more, we've strived towards more. So more as in a bigger house or a bigger car or more money in the bank or a bigger swimming pool. All these things are all more, and as opposed to thinking, well, what are the things that bring me happiness and joy? And of course, people want somewhere to live, they want a car, of course, the
Mm-hmm.
holidays, all those things, absolutely, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But there comes a point where if it's just about just more of the same stuff and not thinking about, well, what is it that intrinsically brings me pleasure? What is it that excites me? What is it that I will remember when I'm laying there in many, many years to come on my deathbed, whatever? I'm not going to remember in that particular day I bought the bigger house. I'm going to remember those moments of pleasure and excitement and intrigue and all those things, aren't we?
Um, I hope, like I said in my heart, that you are correct in that. But I have noticed in my lifetime, I'm now in my early 60s, I noticed where it was my lifetime, it was so rigid and strict. Then in my middle years, it became more open and a little bit more relaxed and fluid. And now I feel a tightening again, a squeeze. Women are losing their rights here in our country.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. And just because we have achieved a right doesn't mean that right can not be taken from us. So we take for granted achievements.
Mm.
And I hope you're right. But I don't know if I fully agree that that's going to happen with the human race. I'm not sure.
My I guess my reason for feeling that is that I think, terribly sad though it is, we have to get to a place where we just look around at what's happening and we just shake our heads in disbelief. We almost feels like we're at that nadir now, and how much more can, well, we can hurt each other a lot more, I know, but how much more we could get from enjoying pleasure and what pleasure feels like. Just step away from that for a second. So let's get this positive. Um, one of the things that you said just now is that a large number of your clients perhaps are in ethical non-monogamy or polyamorous relationships. How do you support, or I guess guide clients through that different way of being? Because for a lot of people, it's still, people misunderstand it and see it as a license to cheat and it's not fair, one partner, whatever. But people I've spoke to that have that dynamic in their relationship, let's say for one thing, it can be quite complicated. We forget about I don't know, the financial aspect of things, or if you have children, where does that sit? If one element breaks up, whatever. So how do you help people navigate ethical
Hmm.
non-monogamy?
Well, the first thing I do is explore with each partner why they want this path
Hmm.
and or why they don't. And so I try to first analyze that. Are they coming from a place of love, that they love one another and themselves so much that they want their partner to experience pleasure on the highest level? Or are they coming from a place of lack? Which doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. I've helped people in that regards too. But it is
Mm.
common for me to have worked with couples that come because they feel something's lacking between them. And then after I work with them a while, they realize, no, you were right, Dr. Stephanie, when you said we're not ready to open up our relationship. We need to work on us first. So first I would ask the people to why they want to do it. And when you do make a choice like that, you have to realize that you are opening yourself up to learn so much about yourself that you could never learn any other way. You can't read a book on it, you can't watch a movie on it. You're going to learn deep down things about yourself, and you have to be ready for that. But
Mm.
it's an experience that people, it takes a lot of strength and courage to dive into. And also, when we think about any type of open relationship, we're talking about one of the most important thing is clear boundaries. There's no such thing as you do what you want, she does what she wants, da da da. No, there must be clear boundaries that are kept at all times. Now, boundaries can be flexible and changed and talked about, but they must at all times be adhered. And the boundaries are different for everyone. So I work with them on exploring what they might be comfortable with at this stage, what the boundaries look like. Emphasize that the only problems I have found that can occur with my couples is when they do not follow, they break a boundary. And then it brings everything up. I'll give you an example. I was working with a couple, very healthy relationship couple. They were opening up the relationship. First thing I always also have them do is create a safe word. So, or a phrase like, oh, the babysitter texted, or something like that. If the partner says that, then the other partner knows they're not comfortable and they need to wrap it up.
Yeah.
So they were with another couple, and she was having a great time with the other man, and he was not connecting with the wife of the other guy. But he did not use his safe word. So in their next session, he was like, she was like, I was just really bad. I said, well, how were you bad? Because I wasn't focusing on him because he said he wasn't having a good time. And I was having this great time and I should have been more aware. And I asked him, did you use your safe word? He said, no. I said, she did nothing wrong. She did nothing wrong because it is not her job. They're doing this so that they can each enrich their experience and their sexuality. And he realized it. He said, you're absolutely right. On some level, he wanted her attention, and that's why he did that. But that's not why they're in this. So they actually both learned a very good lesson in that. Yeah.
Do you think we are naturally monogamous?
No,
Or do you think non-monogamy is more of a natural state of being?
no, we are born sexual beings onto the planet. Monogamy is a choice, one that I respect when people make it, but you have to understand you are going against your very nature as a human being. As we grow up, we're taught monogamy equals love. Again, that all goes back to control. We have to control the species. We have to control the humans, and so we control them in that way. And it is going to bring up challenges within you when you make that choice. And I respect it. I know you make it out of love, but you're making something. You're making a choice for something that's not your nature.
Yeah, yeah. I guess going back historically, it's what sort of society has almost demanded of people, isn't it? You find one person, you marry them, and that's the person you're with, and then that's it, really. Yeah, there's still a stigma in many places around divorce when you
Yeah.
find another person, and it's an oddity that we you think as a society, if you're going to create rules, there'll be rules that are quite pleasurable rules, but we create rules that restrict and restrain us. Really,
Well,
I think
again,
that's the
we're talking control. We have to remember
we
that.
are. Yeah, that word keeps coming out, doesn't that? We are.
And that's the government's job, too, is to control its people.
Absolutely. It just makes it easier. And not to educate people because
Oh, yeah.
goodness, imagine we had an educated population. Oh my goodness,
Oh, I
what
know.
they'd see through us and want to change
Right.
everything. I know you did quite a lot of work in anger management. Do you find that that has a connection with your work as a sort of sex educator and guide and support?
I find that one of the main causes of someone shutting down sexually is anger issues. Yeah.
Okay.
And we explore where they come from, where they might be.
Mm.
Because if on some level they're angry with themselves or angry with their partner, they will shut down sexually. Yeah. Anger is very, very prevalent.
I think often it's interesting you said that I think a lot of time the anger is something we feel in and of ourselves, but we lash out at somebody, hopefully verbally at worst, because we don't know how to progress the anger.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not explaining that very well. And I think an example I would give is this. I went to see a therapist a little while ago about so my mum died, and then my dad died, and lots of things happened. I thought, I'll go and see a therapist. That's what you're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to do and talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing I found I struggle with is that we did lots and lots of talking, but it always felt like almost literally that the the what's the right word, the solution or the whatever almost got stuck here, and then the physical, it felt like I needed like a physical release,
Mm-hmm.
and the sort of the somatic, I guess people
Mm-hmm.
call it now, and that's I think it's the same with anger, that we blurt this something out, but it's something that's in us that we're not sure
Mm-hmm.
how to get out. Goodness, I'm not sure if that makes any sense. But
Mm-hmm.
do you know what I mean? Anger is very much a feeling, and you can almost feel the blackness or the shape of it, the sensation of it, whatever. So I think talking about it is great. But how do you physically release that emotion? It's quite a powerful emotion, isn't it? Anger.
I feel anger is an
Hmm.
energy that we allow to take over us. And the more we allow it, the stronger the energy gets. And in regards to sometimes anger is often mistaken for something else that they're feeling. And grief is one of them.
Yes.
Oh, sometimes when we're grieving, we go for anger. Because again, anger is a big seducer. It can say, I will give you power if you let me take over. Grief will make you weak and sad.
Mm.
So we go for the anger. Now, what do we do when we get angry? We want to punish. We want to punish the one that we're angry at, and we want to punish ourselves if we're angry at ourselves. So we deny ourselves pleasure. As far as physical expression of anger, I don't know. There's different studies on that.
Mm.
They used to think that yes, it's good to hit pillows and things, and now I've read new studies that say that actually meditation
Mm.
is a healthier alternative to unplugging the anger. But I will say this about anger: anger does not like to be recognized. So, because it wants to feel it's the boss of you. But when the anger takes over you, you have no control. You have totally given over your control. So, what you do, you start recognizing that the anger is in control. It doesn't
Mm.
like that. Even if you can't do it in the moment, afterwards you say, okay, I allowed anger to take over and control me.
Hmm.
That slowly unplugs that power. It does not like to be recognized. It wants you to believe that it is you. So that's one thing I teach my clients is to start
Yeah, I think that's
calling it out.
so important. It's almost like taking away the fuel of the fire, isn't it? And if each time even if in the moment you can't bring it back, but
Hmm.
to reflect on it later on, and yeah, each time that thing happens, you think hopefully you get to have more and more,
Well, you
say
have to
control,
also
that's the wrong
ask.
word, recognition.
You have to ask yourself, what is the payoff? What has anger convinced me? And
Yeah,
often people will say, "Oh, nothing." I'm like, you're not. You wouldn't do it unless you're not getting a payoff. All humans are like, whatever
yeah,
we're
absolutely.
addicted to or emotional or whatever we
Mm,
think it's convinced us that we are getting a payoff from it. So you got to
mm,
figure out that too. What am I get? What's my payoff for allowing anger to take over? So. That's an
And I think there's that.
important too.
Yeah, and you said before it's almost as well digging beneath and saying, well, what is the anger trying to mask? Is it grief? Is it sadness? Is it what are the things that it's just a big, loud emotion. It's a
Mm-hmm.
loud sensation, and some of the other ones are quite quiet and quite they sort of retreat a little bit, and anger can overwhelm. I guess it's
Mm-hmm.
that explosive thing really. A couple of other things that slightly disconnected from that. So two things that are sort of connected. I think that in our lifetime, since you and I were sort of kids, you and I grew up without mobile phones, without smartphones,
Mm-hmm.
and we managed okay. We seem to survive all right. Whereas now, for many people,
Mm-hmm.
they have these incredible devices that, in theory, allow them to connect with anybody across the world. You and I are talking.
Mm-hmm.
You in the US, I'm in the UK. We're talking very
Mm-hmm.
easily, and we're connecting in a way. But I do have a fear that we almost in a time where we have the ability to connect, we're almost more disconnected than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
We have more loneliness. We have more people that are not in relationships, and I think that's a challenge. And then I think associated with that is almost through these devices in a way. There's a big report in the UK came out today. It was about the average age and impact that access to pornography has on people. I
Yes.
think 25% of 11-year-olds access porn,
Yeah, it's bad.
75% of 13-year-olds access porn, and again on these
It's
devices.
bad.
And yes, we have age verification, but if you have any
No,
12-year-old can get around that in two
that's right.
seconds. And yeah, and I guess for many people, young people, pornography is their first education about sex. And when I've talked to people that act in porn and porn directors, they say, "Gosh, we always want it to be seen as entertainment. You can choose to watch it or not, but we hate to think it's been used as education." But that's my fear: is that a lot of things that are seen in porn when you're 11, 12, 13, you have no context to know they're not the right thing. So, so wrapped up in that whole thing I just talked about. So, connection, lack of connectivity, access to porn. How do you think those things are impacting people's
They
future
are
sexual behavior?
um, the porn aspect. I don't specialize in that, but my sister's a therapist. She works with porn addiction. But the porn aspect is a danger to humans, the young people especially,
Mm,
because again, that just shows them that sex is performative. And they can't even talk about what they've seen. I have already worked with children in around 10, 12 years old that already have porn addictions. And they don't understand their feelings. They can't even make friends. It is a dangerous problem. And I don't know what the answer is because it's not going away unless we start talking to our kids. Now
mm,
there's an interesting thing, right? About
mhm.
it and like, okay, if you see it, you have to understand it's not real. Instead of not opening up the conversation to them, help them understand or just again saying, you better not be doing that. It just doesn't we need to open up the conversation and talk about this. But I have to say it's a dangerous problem.
Mm. And that's a big thing. There's so many things that we talked about, and you've really got the heart of it. That knowledge or awareness and conversation almost becomes the tool we have to sort of fight these things really. So increase, like saying whether it's governments or porn or whatever, they just don't want us to have the knowledge. They just don't want us to talk to our kids about it. We're
Right.
actually talking to our
Hmm.
10, 11, 12-year-olds about it and having a proper discussion with them and increasing their knowledge. That's
Right.
how you defend against it. But it's like anything. If something's seen as taboo or it's illegal or not allowed, whatever, of course it's attractive. Whether it's drink or drugs or
Right.
porn or
Of
whatever, of
course.
course it's super attractive. But if you take away the stigma or aura that it has, it just becomes yeah, my dad said about porn, and my mum, yeah, they talk about, oh, we should stop talking about porn now. It becomes less exciting if
Right.
your parents are talking about it, for goodness sake.
Absolutely.
there were two more things I wanted to ask you, and I don't want to take up your whole day, but one of them is that you've obviously put so much of your energy, your personal, your personal being into working with clients, helping clients, supporting clients, and you must hear sadly, some very traumatic stories from clients, I'm sure at times. So I just wondered, how do you protect and nourish your own well-being and not carry the sort of trauma or exhaustion with you?
Well, I wasn't very good at that about 15 years ago when I first
Hmm.
entered into it. I had no idea the magnitude of pain that I was
Mm.
going to come across. So for the first couple of years, I suffered, and there was a lot of pain I carried. Now I do my best. I'm not always perfect to do little rituals for myself. Like if I
Hmm.
have a rough day and I've felt a lot of pain from someone, I'll take a nice shower. Water's always a good ritual. Ritual to me is one of the most important things. Also, I must remember that I, I'm not here to judge their journey.
Okay.
So I'm only here to help them through their path. So I'm not here to judge. So I can't take on that pain because I just can't pass judgment on it. I don't know what they're meant to learn in this lifetime. I don't know what they're meant to experience, but I'm just meant here to help them. So that's basically just try to keep that little boundary for myself there.
Mm. And are you a is the right phrase even? Are you a good meditator, and can you calm your own mind quite quickly?
Yes, I'm really good at that. Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm good at going inside and to my safe place. Yeah.
I know that. And then my final question, maybe the hardest one, is what you feel like you've already lived many lifetimes. It feels to me. What do you think the rest of this experience in this body will bring? What does your future as this person look like? Do you think?
I think the full expression of my creativity to its complete fullest. With parts of me were hesitant in the past for whatever reason, I, as long as I can create and guide and help others through that, I will keep breathing. And I hope to see clients until my final breath on the planet. I don't want to retire off somewhere and whatever. I want to continue to help and make a difference. And that's what my final years here are for.
Do you ever find the time to sort of sit back and reflect on what you've done?
Uh, Maybe, but I'm too busy in the moment. I'm too kind of
Which is
busy
good,
in
I
the
guess.
with the moment. And, that doesn't mean I don't sit around with my sister and we chat or have a cocktail in front of the fire or something like that. Of course we do. But I'm I'm still in that phase of, okay, what am I creating in this moment for
Hmm.
myself or for others to bring
Yeah.
myself pleasure? So
I
still
love the
doing
fact
that.
I love the fact both you and your sister are in the same space.
Yeah.
There must be something there about genetics, nature, nurture, desire. Just
Yes.
are you similar people, or are you quite different?
Oh, me and my sister.
Hmm.
We're similar in many ways, and we're different in many ways. But
I should try.
she's my best friend, and
Mhm.
I cannot have imagined my life on this planet without her. That
Hmm.
is for sure. So,
Ask her if she wants to come on the podcast. I'd love to speak to
oh,
her as
okay,
well, and
sure.
compare the two of you, see what you both like. I just want to say massive thank you. Yeah, when I looked at your website and read about you and listened to some of the other stuff, I thought, wow, she just seems to do so many things. I wasn't sure where we go, but you just have very compelling ability to say things that I wanted to listen to. If that makes sense. I really wanted to
Thank you.
hear. And I felt very, very comfortable talking, and I could very easily imagine sitting with you sitting with you and your sister on a deck, just having a glass of wine and looking. Oh gosh, 6 hours has gone past.
Yeah.
I guess that's what you do. That's literally is who you are. But thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it.
And
It was,
again, and
I really enjoyed it.
thank you, and I thank your listeners. And please know that I just am here to speak my truth, and it doesn't mean it's someone else's truth. And I thank them for listening.
Oh, thank you.